If you watched baseball on Saturday, April the 15th, 2020, you would have noticed the number 42 all over the place. Each player wore the number 42 on the back of his jersey, and each broadcast devoted a significant portion of their time to discussing the guy who made the number synonymous with hero in baseball, Jackie Robinson. Despite the scorn and humiliation he endured on and off the field, he always gave it his all, never allowing anything to get in his way, and he won hearts. However, there is still an aspect of Jackie Robinson's career that remains underappreciated: his statistics. So, in this video, we're going to look at one of baseball's most underrated players, Jackie Robinson, and why his career is one of the most overlooked in the game. So, stay tuned. To start off, Robinson started his career after an encounter with a team official, Branch Rickey. The encounter, which took place in Rickey's office on Montague Street in Brooklyn in late August 1945, has practically become rather iconic. Clyde Suckerforth, a Dodgers scout, had met Jackie Robinson in Toledo, and the two proceeded to New York together to meet the Dodgers general manager. However, it seemed Rickey had instructed Suckerforth to watch Robinson throw from the shortstop hole, which he couldn't because of his dislocated shoulder. When Suckerforth led Robinson into Rickey's office, Rickey took a hard look at Robinson. According to Suckerforth, when Rickey met somebody he was invested in, he studied them in the most profound way, he said. He just sat there staring, and he did the same thing with Robinson, staring at him as if he were trying to get inside the man. And unsurprisingly, Robinson returned the stare. In order to test his resolve to become the first black player in MLB, Rickey got into Robinson's face at some point during their meeting and held comments he was so sure to encounter on the field. He warned Robinson that he would be pelted with beanbags, physically assaulted, spiked, and spat on, and that he would have to control his temper. In his memoirs, Robinson stated, "Mr. Rickey," I said, "are you looking for a Negro who's afraid to fight back?" I shall never forget how he blew up. "Robinson," he blurted out, "I'm looking for a player with guts enough not to fight back." It was after this interaction that Robinson was able to accept a contract with Montreal, Brooklyn's International League club, in 1946. Even then, Robinson was not certain to be the first black player in the big leagues. There was not enough experience on Robinson's baseball resume at the time to assume he'd be great, and as the first black player, Robinson had to make his mark. The Brooklyn meeting was only the beginning of things, as Robinson was ready to play once the contract was completed. But one thing you might not have known about Jackie Robinson is that he had no knowledge about baseball before his meeting with Rickey. You see, Robinson had always been a field man. When he was discharged from the Army with honors in 1944, he went on to play professional football for the Los Angeles Bulldogs. He eventually acquired a job at Samuel Houston College in Austin, Texas, where he taught physical education and coached basketball at the all-black school. But before long, he opted to take the baseball classes, and the rest is history. He made an incredible entrance to the game. Robinson joined the league as a 28-year-old in 1947. He adjusted to the big leagues in record time, slashing .297, .383, .427 for an OPS plus of 122 in his first season. Robinson was worth more than 3.0 wins per BWAR and was named Rookie of the Year, despite finishing 6th in the MVP vote. That, however, was simply the tip of the iceberg. In 1948, Robinson moved to second base and increased his slugging percentage by 26 points, nearly doubling his RBI total from his rookie season, 48 to 85. All of this resulted in Robinson increasing his value to 5.4 BWAR, finishing second among second basemen, Joe Gordon, and 7th overall in WAR that season. Despite his better play, he fell to 15th in the MVP voting, but that did not dissuade him in the least. He was ready to take his game to another level. Jackie's next season in 1949 was one of the best by a second baseman in baseball history. Robinson won the batting title, .342, had a ridiculous 152 OPS plus, and scored 124 runs. The 124 RBI ranked 11th all-time among second basemen, while the batting average ranked 6th among all-time two-baggers. Robinson was rightfully named MVP in 1949 as he led the league in WAR, beating out the all-time powerful Stan Musial by .3 wins. This was the beginning of Robinson's near-unprecedented dominance as he set out to dominate the league for the next 5 years. Robinson hit .329, .430, and .505 with an OPS plus of 146 from 1949 through 1953. To give you an idea of what an OPS plus of 146 looks like, Manny Ramirez had one in 1995 when he hit 35 home runs and drove in 145 runs. That is what Robinson averaged over a 5-year span. Now, while Manny played in a different era and is a different style of batter, Robinson demonstrated that he was a great asset in one of the hardest periods in the game. Over the same 5-year period, Robinson was worth 42.2 WAR or 8.8 WAR per season. Keep in mind that 8.0 plus WAR is considered an MVP season. Robinson led the league in WAR twice over that time period and was worth more than that 5-year time frame than 21 Hall of Famers combined. Robinson went on to play 3 more seasons after his lethal 1949 to 1953 period, culminating in a World Series victory over the despised New York Yankees in 1955. After 1956, Robinson chose to retire rather than play for a team other than the Dodgers. Robinson, who was 37 at the time of his retirement, easily could have played a few more seasons, as he hit .275 in his final season and was worth 4.5 WAR. Tucked between a late start, imagine if his prime could have begun as a 25-year-old instead of a 30-year-old, and an early finish to his career. Robinson put up some of the game's top numbers. He finished his 10-year career with a .311 average, an OPS plus of 132, and 61.5 WAR. Jackie Robinson was a superb second baseman who averaged more WAR per season than any other player in baseball history. However, it seems that his not-so-smooth start was what got people talking. Robinson had a rocky start in baseball when he first began playing. In fact, he was said to have hit .097 once in his early years. It's clear that, at the time, baseball was hardly the young man's best sport. And knowing that he won the Pacific Coast Intercollegiate Golf Championship, reached the semifinals of the National Tennis Tournament for black players, and also won swimming events for UCLA, perhaps we can cut him some slack. It's also too simple to ascribe Robinson's achievement to a firm belief that failure was not an option. Without a question, that was a key aspect of his Dodgers career, but it also understates his abilities. As a batter, Robinson was acclimated rapidly to major league pitching, despite Bob Feller's assessment that Robinson could not hit an inside pitch to save his neck. He had a slight hiccup when he brought his bat back to begin his swing, his bat virtually parallel to the ground, a more common style back then. On the base aspect, his speed was well known, but he was not an elegant runner. With his arms angled away from his body, thrashing around to urge him ahead. He had a football running, back-tearing around the bases, all coiled-up energy. He also exploited his speed to scare opponents, bouncing off the bases and threatening to steal on every pitch. Robinson's fielding was maybe the most underrated aspect of his career. When Bill James published his first historical baseball abstract in 2001, his study at the time showed Robinson to be one of the top defensive second basemen of all time, to the point that even Robinson's most ardent supporters could be surprised. As he noted, "I would not rule out the possibility that Jackie was a far better defensive second baseman than even those who watched him on a regular basis realized. I would argue that Jackie was such a divisive figure, such a polarizing figure, that it must have been extremely difficult to see him for what he was, even when he was right in front of you," James wrote. When it comes to the best seasons by a second baseman in terms of WAR since interrogation, Robinson's top 3 rank 2nd, 5th, and 14th. Joe Morgan owns 5 of the top 11 and is widely recognized as the best second baseman since World War II, and, along with Rogers, Hornsby, and Eddie Collins, is the greatest of all time. Morgan, of course, had a lengthy career. Many of Robinson's golden seasons were cut short by the war. Many of the men remembered in baseball history are remembered for their statistical achievements. However, for men such as Robinson, whose legacies are inextricably linked with their off-field successes, it appears that their on-field legacy is often forgotten, or at the very least pushed to the sidelines, to create room in our collective memory for the incredible off-field stories. But the general premise remains. At his peak, Robinson was one of the all-time greats, and in many circumstances was greater than is widely acknowledged. The legacy of Jackie Robinson is not about what he could have done. It still exists today, over 75 years after that inaugural game at Ebbets Field, because of what he did. Hit the comment section and let us know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe and check out our next video.